to another fantastic episode here of the Three Man Rush podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. If you are joining on YouTube, we want to thank you so much for the support. Go ahead, hit the like and notification button. That way you can be notified whenever we drop new content, which, like we said, season's coming closer. I'm going to be doing 3 shows a week, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. So if you are listening in audio format, we want to also thank you as well for supporting. So whether that's on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Leave a review. Go ahead and rate the show. 5 stars if you think it's 5 stars. 1 star if you think it sucks. Like, anything helps. So yeah, we're really.
If you're gonna tell us we're that bad, just please tell us what's so bad about it, so we can
at least leave a review if you're gonna shit on us that hard. But if you have been joining us over the last few weeks, we've been doing our divisional previews. Today we are finishing up those divisional previews, so we are completely done, which means we are only a few weeks away from the season starting. If you are joining us and you have not joined us before, if this is your first episode, getting ready for your NFC North team. I'm your host, Landon Oliver, here with both of my co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Jared Holly. You can find all 3 of us on Twitter at 3 Man Rush Podcast, as well as our Twitter handles in the video. So go ahead and give us a follow on there. A lot of cool stuff getting posted on there as well. So really excited. NFC North Preview. If you do not know what we do in these shows, we go ahead and give you some losses, some additions, how the teams finished last year, and basically how we think they improved or didn't improve at all, maybe even got worse going into this season. Going to be some really cool content, and this is another really fun division. I think both North divisions were really fun because we did the AFC North last week. We got the NFC North today, and here in a few days we're going to be recording our finally big season preview of playoff teams, MVPs, offensive player of the year, defense player of the years, coaches of the year, basically giving you our full NFL breakdown. But so the NFC North last year, it seemed to kind of be more par for the course than what it has been in the previous years. And that's the Green Bay Packers leading the division, followed up by the Vikings, the Bears, and the Lions. And I feel like this is, I feel like this is just like Groundhog Day. Every
copy
season
and paste every year.
Yeah, it's just every season I wake up at the end of football season and it's Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, and the Lions. And it's nothing was different last year. So there were some changes this year as well. And luckily we get to see some of those changes as well, because on Hard Knocks now, which started last week, you have the Detroit Lions. They're on Hard Knocks. So it was a really good episode this last week. I really enjoyed it. You guys watch Hard? I know Drew does. Jared, you big Hard Knocks guy?
I haven't watched any of the Lions one yet, but I probably will binge it. That's what I normally see.
That's a good way to do it too.
Yeah.
I don't know how I haven't, because I love Dan Campbell so much.
Yeah, him and Jamal. I love Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams is great too.
And also, speaking of Hard Knocks, if you did not know, so Amazon also has a football series like that. It's called All In. This year, they just announced tonight the All In team for this year, starting, I believe, August 22nd or something like that, is the Los Angeles Chargers. Will be doing the All In.
Really? I hadn't seen that.
Yes. So, yeah. If you're interested in the Chargers, if you're interested in the Chargers, or you're not a big Lions fan, if you're any other team in this division and you don't want to watch the Lions, you have another option. So the LA Chargers will be on All In later this month.
What a great week for TV, man! Game of Thrones. That's Sunday.
Game of Thrones be kicking off, and
some Justin Herbert, King of Thrones for the AFC West.
He looks like a Lannister. He looks like he would be a Lannister.
Oh yeah.
But not like the shitty kind, like the cool kind, like Tyrion. Not like the I'm gonna fuck my sister kind.
That's Lord.
That's the bad kind. All right, guys. So you're not a Game of Thrones guy?
I've never seen any of it, no.
Oh man. Well, if you do watch
we have an hour. We can on display.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you do watch it, just go all the way up to about season
all of them.
6. No, not all of them. Go up to about
last
season 6
stuff.
And don't watch anything after season 6. Season 6, it kind of starts to fall apart. season 7 and season 8 are god awful. Like, I mean, like they ruined the entire show. Like they're so bad that up until season 7, I said that was the greatest show in television history. And they were so bad that I don't want to rewatch the show. That's how bad they were the last 2 seasons. So.
HBO's notorious track record for killing shows that are very good with their last seasons.
Well, what sucks is like I think like right around like season 5, I think, is whenever they started running out of book material from the author. And instead of like, consulting the author of the books, they just kind of just winged it, and it was not good. Like it was terrible. But yeah, I highly recommend Game of Thrones if you've never seen it, but just don't watch anything. Like watch season 6. And I mean, like, yeah, you'll probably finish it, obviously, like honestly, because you'll want to know what happens.
Yeah.
I'm just advising you to not. Like just don't ruin it for yourself, because it's like it literally sucks. Like just think in your head how it should end. Something else that notoriously has sucked for many seasons, the Detroit Lions, and that's the team that finished up.
Damn.
What a transition!
I've never heard somebody get bodied so hard on a transition.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
That was solid.
So yeah, they have sucked for a few seasons, namely 60 of them, just about. But hey, look, Detroit Lions. This is the thing, though. I like the Lions. Like I root for the Lions to do good every year. I root for them to do good every year.
The lovable losers.
Yeah, so the Detroit Lions, some additions they did. Add DJ Shark, Deshaun Elliott, and Tracy Walker re-signed with the team as well on a 3-year deal. That's Tracy Walker the third, by the way, which he likes to make sure everybody knows that he is the third. He's not his dad or his granddad. And losses, they did lose Trey Flowers. And then, they had some pretty big draft as well. Pretty big draft, some really good draft pieces there. Traded up for Jamison Williams, also number 2 overall, Aiden Hutchinson.
Was like a stud.
Yeah, dude freaking balled out week 1. Pretty excited about that. He looked really, really, really good. So Detroit Lions, they're on Hard Knocks, so obviously we actually get the deep dive into them, throughout, coming up. And then now they do the Hard Knocks in season, which starts like October, November, somewhere around there. And I think that's the Arizona Cardinals. Yep. But leading up to the season, we do get the Lions. They do play the Colts this weekend, by the way, as well. I will be in Indianapolis. Still trying to figure out if, like, maybe we'll go to the game, maybe not. We'll see what happens. But obviously this team, they're really hard to peg last year because they lost 10 games, but 7 of the 10 games they lost in like the final few minutes. Like they were in every single game. This is a team that does not die. That's just some awful luck to lose 7 games a year like that. I mean, like that is just like insane. So you're looking at like regression to the mean. This team could be a 500 ball club last year. I know I want to get Drew's opinion on this because I know he does not like the quarterback. But this is a scrappy team, man. Were there enough moves made in your mind to make them kind of get over the hump of like consistently like getting let down in these games? Like, cause like, I think they've got some firepower now. Their offensive line is really good. Their running game is really good. Their defense is like up and coming. Like they've got a pretty decent defensive line. Like we'll see how that works if Hutchinson ends up hitting. I really like their safety room. Honestly, I think their safeties are really good. I think Tracy Walker's an extremely underrated safety. As well as now their linebacker room isn't all that great, but I'm curious how, like, do you think the changes that were made were enough to kind of get them over the hump of these like consistent letdowns?
If the hump is like not being a last place team in this division, then yeah, I think they might have. I do want to. I don't hate Jared Goff. I'm very thankful he is no longer my favorite team's franchise quarterback. Considering the franchise quarterback,
that's pretty close to hate.
and if you need to paint it, if we need to paint that as such, that's fine.
I'm glad he doesn't play for my team. I don't hate him, but
I
I'm just
don't
glad
hate
he's
him,
not
and
my quarterback.
I actually like him quite a bit now that he's not on my team. He's much easier to like whenever you don't have to watch him every single Sunday. Um, but it's like it's tough because part of the reason I think this team's going to be better is because of Jamison Williams, but they're also not going to have him right off the rip. But I like the addition of DJ Chark. I think that that's going to help the offense, and then you hope you can have a healthy DeAndre Swift. But I mean, I don't even I want to say like I love the offensive pieces around Goff. The offensive line is one of the best in the league, and I'm not going to
Top
say the
5.
best, but yeah, they're one of the best in the league. And then Swift and Jamal Williams is a great running back duo. Um, You got last year's rookie sensation, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, Jamison Williams, and then TJ Hawkinson. Like, there's a lot to like on the offensive side of the ball. It's just there's not near as much to like on the defensive side of the ball, and that's what worries me. Which is, where I would assume kind of like Aiden Hutchinson is a huge building block to that, obviously, and I do think that the defense will be better. Josh Pascal is another underrated addition to that defense, and one former Rams player I have no problem loving is Michael Brockers, who is also a presence there on the defensive line as well. So I like the defensive line, and I like the safety room. I just don't really like everything in between there, like the linebackers and the corners really concern me. But I think this is a team that's much better than it was 2 years ago, and it's not a surprise at all to me because whenever the Lions grabbed Brad Holmes as their new GM over from the Rams, he was a big reason the Rams found so many of the uh, late value players that they added in the NFL in the draft over the years. Brad Holmes was a key reason behind a lot of that. He's an extremely, extremely smart guy and brought more smart people over with him to Detroit. So it's no surprise to me that this roster looks better than it did 2 years ago, and it's just going to continue to get better. I really do believe that with the players they already have in place, with the coaching staff in place, with the new front office, I think that Detroit is headed in the right direction. And I'm really excited to watch the growth of just the entire organization.
Yeah, Big Jared.
Yeah, I pretty much concur with everything Drew just said too. The Lions are gonna give teams fits, man. They're gonna be in a lot of games like they were last year. The division hasn't gotten any better. If anything, I would say the division kind of has taken a step back with some losses in the offseason. We'll get into predictions of how the division finishes, but I feel like they've made some key additions to where they're not the record that I don't know if they'll go 500, but I think they're going to be a lot more competitive. I think I have them at like 6 wins on the season, which is double what they had last year, and they're going to be in a lot of games, including week 1. I think that's going to be a weird one right there with the Eagles.
I think they win more than that, honestly.
I mean, they could.
Yeah, this team, man, like in a weird way, they remind me of a more likable version of the Titans, namely because they don't play in the AFC South. But like they have question marks at linebacker. They have good safeties. Their cornerbacks are a little question marks. Their defensive line should be really good. Then, good running game, like decent weapons. Like, I don't know. Like, and really it's just like the Dan Campbell, like, I guess Mike Vrabel thing. Like, I think those are two guys that like can get the most out of their teams, like because like their teams like will never stop coming like at you. Like no matter, like it doesn't matter if they're down by 50, it doesn't matter if they're up by 50, it doesn't matter if they're down by 3. Like that team, like they might not win the game, they might not lose, or they might win the game, they might lose the game. That's a team that just never stops. Like they never quit trying. And that's really cool. So yeah, man, I think the Lions are due for like a pretty big leap. In all honesty, that's a team depending on how the Vikings end up this year, like, which is something we'll get to here a little bit later. But I could see this team actually making a playoff push in the NFC because of how weak the NFC is. I can see them pushing for the end, like the bottom wild card.
That'd be a huge leap. I can't say that, but
well, I mean, I think like at the bottom wild card in the NFC, I don't even know if you have to have a winning record. Honestly, like if I'm being honest, I think you could get by. I think you could be 500 and sneak in possibly to
season mode like
the
Seattle.
last seed. Yeah, I mean,
Years,
yeah, like when the Seahawks were 7-9 and they made the last wild card. Like I don't think you gotta be seven. They gotta win more than 7 games. But I can see this team winning, 8 or 9 games.
Who are they playing in the last week of the season?
So they also play a last place schedule as well, which is part of that. So let me break down.
Their last game of the season is against Green Bay. But their last.
But they give Green Bay fits for whatever reason. Like
their last
every team fits, man.
Their last 4 games are Jets, Carolina, Chicago, Green Bay. So it's I mean, overall they have,
and then they have the Vikings. Yeah. So really, they play.
They play a last place schedule in the NFC North. So
even before that, you have
pretty soft.
Yeah. So you have.
They get to play Seattle. They get to play Chicago twice, obviously.
4, 5, 6. So like 7, 8. So after week 8, week 8 generally they do have like a relatively because they've got Packers, Dolphins, Cowboys, Patriots, all within the first 8 weeks. So that's 4. I mean, those are 4 really tough games. So they just stay 500. But after that, listen to the schedule. Bears, Giants, Bills. That's going to be a tough game. So, but you have the Bears, the Giants, the Jaguars, the Vikings, the Jets, the Panthers, the Bears, the Packers one more time. Realistically, they could win all but maybe 1 to 2 games in their last 8 games.
Or they could lose. Or you said they could win?
Yeah, they could win like all those outside of the Bills and Packers game the last 8 weeks of the season, they can win all those other games.
Man, the NFL is so iffy, though. I mean, Jacksonville beat Buffalo last year, too.
Well, any team could beat any team, but I'm saying, right. I don't think
they squeak out a major win like that.
Yeah.
It's not completely out in the realm, but
that might be a bold prediction. You never know.
Yeah.
So now let's get into another team that we want to talk. Unless you guys have anything more on the lines until we get to the end of the show.
No, so good.
We'll get into them.
This one's going to be pretty quick on the next one. So
yeah, so we do have the Chicago Bears here. Additions, not really much of anything. They didn't really do much of anything to.
They added some players, but nothing really to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like it was just it's been a weird offseason for them. Meanwhile, they lost Allen Robinson, Akeem Hicks, Bilal Nichols, Khalil Mack was traded as well. And then now also there's some stuff going on there with Roquan Smith. Who knows if he'll even be on the team here in the coming weeks. Man, like now they did lose Matt Nagy as head coach,
which is an addition.
That is an addition for them. They brought in Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator for Indianapolis. But they are going through a transition as well. So they were a 3-4 defense. They're now transitioning to a 4-3. Generally, it takes teams. I mean, teams are so multiple nowadays. It's not quite as drastic as it used to be, but it still generally takes about 1 to 2 seasons to fully transition over, with those types of players. But the main storyline here is the lack of offensive line and weapon help that Justin Fields received in the offseason. Because it almost seems like all these other rookie quarterbacks, it's going the opposite way. So we see what Jacksonville is doing with Trevor Lawrence down there. They're dropping all kinds of cash to bring in, Brandon Scherf and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and all these weapons. And similar to like kind of how the Patriots did with Mac Jones last year, where they dropped all that money, like right or wrong, on the tight ends and some of those, Nelson Aguilar, who might even be cut from what I'm hearing as well. And the offensive line there in New England, Trey Lance, getting the benefit of that team's already established, so he gets to step in and take over pretty much an NFC Championship roster, Super Bowl caliber roster, just right off the bat. And then you have Tua as well. They went out offensive line, running backs, Tyreek Hill, drafted Jalen Waddell.
Did you already talk about Zach Wilson and the Jets?
Yeah, no, not yet. Zach Wilson, it's another great example.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elijah
There's
Moore last year drafting Brees Hall. Corey Davis was brought in, as well
Offensive
as
line
yeah.
improvements.
I mean, they've tried for the offensive line. They've invested resources in the O line as well there. Um, so and then you have the Bears, who
my
outside of
biggest
outside of Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, they actually lost pieces. Like
yeah.
they lost weapons.
And I think
Um,
my biggest gripe on them is hiring a defensive minded head coach with a second year quarterback.
Yeah, I
Like
didn't really
to me,
understand that either.
that team is already not designed to win right now, but they're like he's the franchise. At the end of the day,
well,
that's your draft capital. That's who's going to sell jerseys. That's who is going to basically be your team. And you bring in a defensive minded head coach, it makes no sense. And then cut every offensive player that was relevant outside of Darnell Mooney and
I
David
think there's
Montgomery.
really so when it, unless the head coach is going to call the plays, which I think is where a lot of people get the notion of like offensive head coaches and defensive head coaches. Like at the end of the day, like if you're a head coach, like unless like you are calling the plays, and even then, like you have like some say in stuff, but being a head coach is so much different than being a coordinator. I think that's where like if you're a defensive head coach, you're basically like giving the offensive staff free reign to like, hey, I'm going
Who's
to
their
hire.
offensive coordinator?
That's the point I was going to make. So like, you need to bring in guys that are established as offensive coordinators and quarterbacks coach. I mean, you're talking about like if you are going to call the defensive plays, you're not going to have anything to do with the offensive meetings, like that. You have to bring in seasoned guys, and that is another area that they like because they also have a first year GM as well. So Luke Getsy um, is the Bears offensive coordinator. I believe he's a first year offensive coordinator as well. So a guy with no experience coming in there. This whole coaching staff and front office has no experience. The team has almost no experience.
This might be the worst team in the NFL. They
They,
have a chance. They have a chance of being the worst team in
they
the
have a
NFL.
chance, yeah. Like I mean, it's not far off that you could make that argument.
I mean, you look at the bottom dwellers last year, the Lions, obviously, Jacksonville, the Jets, all three of those teams made moves that benefit their quarterbacks or in like their whole situation, what they want to be known as a franchise. And then you have the Bears who literally let
Went
anything,
backwards.
anything with any relevance is gone from that team. And then they got a first year offensive coordinator as calling plays for a second year quarterback who really didn't even play the full season last year, where he has one legit target monster. Mooney's a good player, and then Cole Kmet, the jury's out. I mean, nobody really knows. Like he could be good, he might not be good. Who knows? He's athletic, but
Yeah, he's
Bears
got
are
the talent, but he's got to put it together.
the Bears are a mess. That team it's just a mess.
Yeah. So Drew, I know you've been pretty quiet over there about the Bears. I mean, do you have kind of any takes or like different direction you would like to see there, like with Justin Fields, or like is there anything that you want to bring on before we move on here?
I mean, I hope they trade Robert Quinn because he deserves better than this. But no, I think that Justin Fields is going to end up being labeled as a bust after this season, and I don't think it's going to be fairly earned
Not
either.
fair. Yep.
I don't think that they've set him up for success, and um, I think Jared's point, regardless of who's calling the plays, if you look at some of the head coaching hires over the last couple of years, if you have a young franchise quarterback, to me, it just seems like it would make sense to hire an offensive minded head coach. Like just put even if the head coach is calling the plays, not calling the plays, it just seems like to me it makes more sense to put an emphasis on that side of the ball, and then let the offensive head coach find somebody to handle the defense, especially just with how like it or not, that's what the NFL is now. Um,
Mhm.
so if if you have a first round quarterback and you're already starting behind compared to everybody else because the weapons aren't there, and the offensive line is not there. I mean, so you're already playing from behind as it is, and then so I just Eberflus might be a great head coach. I don't know. I mean, it's like not every offensive-minded head coach works out either. Just look at
Yeah.
Matt Nagy. I mean, like you don't have to look far for this exact franchise to see that an offensive-minded head coach doesn't always work out either. So I don't think that'll be what makes or breaks Justin Fields or anything by any means. Um, I just, man, this roster is bad. And then if you take Roquan Smith out of it, like forget about it, man. Like I mean, like, and their idea in investing in Justin Fields was drafting Velus Jones Jr. out of Tennessee this year, who's older than a handful of the receivers that were drafted last year. Like I mean, I
He's
don't know.
actually the same age as Juju, which is
Yeah.
weird to think about.
Yeah, it just I don't know.
He
Not
feels like
not
an
a
old
lot.
man at this point.
I know it's a new head coaching staff. I know it's a new front office, but but I mean, even saying that, there's not a lot that's happened that with this front office that I would be excited about as a Bears fan. So
yeah, and I mean, it could be by design. I mean, they could be tearing it down, from the last regime to start from scratch and like, hey, like
they've definitely got some work.
we have a a rookie quarter, a second year quarterback now going into the second year, but we've got a young quarterback. We've got the most important part figured out. Let's get the coaching staff assembled. Let them grow together. Meanwhile, we'll try to save some money and load up on picks, and then maybe here in like a couple years, Fields is going into his fourth season, and they've drafted a couple receivers. Their offensive line's gelling. They spend a little bit of money. And maybe here in a couple years they're looking a lot better. At least you hope that's the route they go through.
I feel like this team has no identity whatsoever.
Well, I mean, they don't. Like I said, I mean, this is their first year together as like the new coaching staff, new front office. Like nobody knows their identity right now. Like,
well, I mean, if you look at like any major publication like ranking systems, their offensive line is at the bottom. Like it's damn near the worst offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a hard time being like a ground and pound team.
Right.
Even,
I mean,
like
David I don't know how they're going to score. Like I don't know
Justin Fields.
That's the thing that sucks is like the part about this team I like the most is the backfield between David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. But it's like how do they even get anything going on the ground?
You can't.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. The Bears are one of the biggest mystery
boxes. They're just such a big question mark.
Yeah,
because
they are.
Because everything is so new that like we don't know. Now I will say like they didn't. Like, they didn't look that great the other day.
I like the Kyler Gordon pick too that they made in the draft this year. Like I think he could be a decent like number 2 corner type of guy. Like I don't think he's going to be a shutdown number 1 or anything like that. But yeah, I did like that pick too.
The biggest mistake that they can make, and like that's a big mistake what a lot of teams make, is putting it on Justin Fields to carry this barren of a roster and then labeling him a bust whenever he can't. Like, as in, like, well, like, we obviously don't have the guy. This is not the French. Like, he can't carry this roster. It's like, man, like, there's like a handful of quarterbacks in history that can carry a roster like that. And
yeah, and I don't know if the Bears necessarily do that, but I think the general public will view Fields as a bust after this year.
Yeah.
Which what the general public thinks doesn't mean anything to the Bears necessarily, but
the general public.
Just, I feel bad for Fields because he seems like a good kid.
The best case scenario would be, hey, here in a couple years, things haven't worked out. He's going into his 4th season. Matt Ryan just retires, and
goes over to.
Well, I mean, who really liked Justin Fields during the draft process? The Colts. So he could slide just right in there. And then boom, there we go. Recipe for success. All right, so now talk to another team coming up here. A team that has finished 3rd. They've made the playoffs a few times here or there, but they cannot get over the proverbial hump into being a team that actually competes. No, I'm not talking about the Tennessee Titans. I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings here. And that is, yeah. I'm sorry.
That was a good one. I like how you worked that one in there. That was good.
It was just sitting there. I had to tee it up.
If you're gonna work the Titans into every episode, that's a good one.
Yeah. So all right. So they did lose Anthony Barr, Shelton Richardson, and Xavier Woods. not like super big losses there, but they did end up adding Zadarius Smith, come over from Green Bay. Patrick Peterson is back there, and Jordan Hicks is going to be joining the team as well. So to me, the biggest news is Kevin O'Connell coming in now as the head coach. They do have, the former Rams offensive coordinator, aka somebody who shook Sean McVay's hand within the last 12 months. And because
quite
Drew
the
is such
coaching tree at this point.
right, but somehow, hey, look, it ends up working out
It
most
works out.
times. Yeah, it works
Zach
out.
Taylor
So,
did just go to a Super Bowl.
yeah, and Brandon Staley's team is looking pretty dang good.
Matt LaFleur hadn't done too bad. Granted, he does have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. We'll talk about him later. But yeah, it's a pretty impressive coaching tree for how young McVay still is.
Yeah. Well, I think all of them. I think having Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow is never a
you could do much worse.
Yeah, never a downside when you're.
They could have went to Chicago and developed Justin.
Yeah, right.
So now here we have Kirk Cousins, who for whatever reason is one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL for the first 3 quarters. And it's like the fourth quarter, or unless he's on, I believe, Monday Night Football. He's terrible. He cannot play on Monday Night Football.
That's true.
But I think Kirk Cousins gets some unnecessary hate. I do think he is a good quarterback, and I'm excited to see this year what Kevin O'Connell brings over, specifically for Justin Jefferson for fantasy purposes. Be pretty excited to watch that. But Drew, as a Rams fan, tell us about kind of what you expect out of Kevin O'Connell, and then how you think he changes this Vikings team from a team that, they're just right there on the cusp of hey, we can get into the playoffs, but once they get they're not making any noise. Do you think this team, you think a guy like that can actually come in and change everything to where they actually compete this year?
Yeah, I really do. I'm actually really excited about Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell's gonna lead these guys out of the Mike Zimmer good old boy days and take this team to the, welcome to today's world, is kind of how I view the Vikings. And they've got all the offensive pieces to make it happen. I mean, Kirk Cousins is an underrated quarterback. Dalvin Cook is a stud receiver. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. I'm a huge KJ Osborne fan. Irv Smith is still extremely young as a tight end. The only offensive line question mark I really have, the only offensive question mark I have is the offensive line. I kind of spelled it out for you there. But this team played in a unreal amount of one-score games last year. I think it was 12 or something like that. They damn near broke the record last year, and they lost some of the ones that they had no business losing. And I don't see that being the case this year with Kevin O'Connell. I really don't. I think that this is going to be a much more offense-forward team and a much more aggressive team. And then even the defense was bad last year, but some of the changes some of the additions they had, that you mentioned, I think Zadarius Smith and Daniel Hunter. We're assuming health is all good here. Because both of those guys missed a decent amount of time last year. So let's just assume Zadarius Smith and Daniel Hunter both play 16, 17 games next year. That pass rush is going to be legit. And then they got Eric Kendricks. They brought in Jordan Hicks, Jordan Hicks isn't young by any means, but he's still a solid linebacker and played well for Arizona last year. Now I'm not so sure about the cornerback room. I know Patrick Peterson, his name still carries some weight, but as far as his play on the field, I don't really know. But I did like the kid Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson as a rookie. It'll probably take some time to get acclimated, but I did like Andrew Booth Jr. And then they still have Harrison Smith, and then Landon, help me out here. The kid from Georgia. How do you pronounce his last name? It's Lewis. Is it Cine? There you go. I don't know how to say his last name, but I've watched plenty of his game, and I like his game too.
At least I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't know for certain.
I wasn't sure either, but I do know that the kid can play. So I like some of the improvements they made on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm really excited about this team. And they okay. So it's I think if they find themselves in the situation where they're playing as many close games as they did last year, I think they win more than they lose this year. And I'm not going to get too much into it, but I'm pretty excited about the Vikings this year.
There's a lot to be excited about. I think the one thing they need to do is open an offense up a little bit more. I think with a new head coach that's offensive minded, getting rid of Zimmer is probably the best route to go at this point too. I felt like last year they force fed Dalvin Cook a little too much, and when they went more of a funnel with the passing game, it opened up the field where Dalvin Cook had more success when he wasn't touching the ball on every drive. Outside of that, man, like, yeah, this pretty much brought everyone back for the most part. Like, they haven't really lost too many pieces. I think, yeah, you talk about Detroit's record last year, Landon, with all the close games they lost. I mean, hell, Minnesota almost went undefeated if you go by that number because they, like, every game was ridiculously close. I mean, they were losing to the Lions on the last second touchdowns, crazy field goal kicks over like 50 yards to like lose games. They just had bad bounces after bad bounces. But yeah, I like them to go over to 8-win total for sure this year too.
Yeah, all I know is like from everything I've read, like if you like 11 personnel, you're really going to like the Vikings this year because they're going to be running a lot more 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah,
and they're going to be moving Justin Jefferson all around that offense. Like whether
it's a very concentrated offense too.
They'll play slot. They'll have Dalvin Cook, flip outside every now and then, and line up as a wide receiver. They're doing all kinds of fun stuff there.
And the other thing to keep in mind too, because Dalvin Cook will get hurt at some point. Alexander Madison is a great backup running back. They lose.
He's really good.
They lose no steps when Dalvin Cook goes out. It's pretty much the same offense.
And there's
so you're saying Alexander Madison's better than Dalvin Cook?
Well, I mean, Devontae Foreman is better than Derrick Henry, so I mean,
that's what I was going to say. I didn't.
We're going to compare apples to oranges. I did that on purpose to see if I can get a little poke out of you, and it worked.
See, if you're going to go that route, I don't want to hear anything.
I did on purpose.
Statistically,
rumors has it that Madison might not even be the backup either. There's a couple guys.
Wow.
What is it? Nwangu and Ty Chandler. They like both of those guys quite a bit too in that backfield. So I don't know.
Like, things play out a lot differently whenever you get a new GM and new head coach. They're not tied to any of these guys. Man.
Yeah, but that Dalvin Cook's a stud though. So as long as he's healthy,
they don't lose a beat.
Good. I mean, I was doing.
You're not wrong.
I was poking at Landon.
Sorry. Yeah, my big question mark is, as much as I do like the offense, I still just don't trust that defense, specifically that secondary. It's going to be an uphill battle. They're going to be in a lot of shootouts, and that's something that I have seen is like I really do like Kirk Cousins as a quarterback, but for whatever reason, like when you need him to I don't mean to say bear down because it's the NFC North, but we need him to bear down and win the Vikings a game.
We need him to bear down and tighten up.
Tighten up, baby.
Bear down and tighten up and win the game. More often than not, he ends up like the Bears or the Titans, and that's losing. That's losing the game. So, I'm here all week. So I mean, it's just. I really do I like the Vikings, and I think a lot of people are going to be basing what they think they're going to do in the real NFL this year off of fantasy football because they see all these weapons and they see that 11 personnel and 3 wide receiver sets and Dalvin Cook being slotted out wide and in motion and all that kind of fun stuff, and it's just like, oh man, this team's going to be so fun. But when you're breaking down the roster from can this team win football games, not fantasy championships, football games on Sunday, I see a little bit more of an uphill battle than in recent years.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. I
think
don't.
The roster is better this year than it was last year.
I don't. I don't. And not necessarily. I think it's the same. I think it's possibly the same. And I do like the Neil Hunter when he's on the field. He's a game wrecker. So if that guy stays healthy, that can change an entire defense. But what sucks is he hasn't stayed healthy. It's one of those things where we have to see it before I buy into it.
I kind of second Lane, and I feel like it is about the same team as it was outside of a coaching staff.
And they might have upgraded in coaching as well. I mean, I'm not saying that's also a possibility, but the fact that they stayed the same in so many other teams either improved or like got worse. I mean, it's, really outside of the Bears. I mean, because to me, man, like I'm telling you, Aiden Hutchinson, like
Oh, I
he
think we're
looked.
gonna have a hot take at the end of this
You
show.
are gonna have a hot take at the end of this show. Like
I
I'm
felt
telling you,
it.
dude, the line, dude, yeah, dude, like telling you, man. So let's get in
They're
here.
getting that Hard Knocks bump. Shit.
No, no, no.
Drinking that
Not the Hard
Kool-Aid.
Knocks bump. They're getting that Aiden Hutchinson look like Nick Bosa bump. That's the that's the bump they're
Whoa.
about to get. So the team that once again finished in first place, the Green Bay Packers. So, Mom, if you're listening to this, thank you for joining us for the Packers portion. I don't really see any way. Like, this is a team that went through a lot of turmoil, with the Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to retire? Is he going to get traded? This seems to be the norm for the last couple off seasons. He didn't end up re-signing, big contract for at least 2 seasons. We'll see if he stays next season or not. But as we know right now, coming into this season, Aaron Rodgers is still here. Devontae Adams was shipped out. Pretty big loss, but they went out, drafted, to me, like one of the best wide receivers in the entire draft, Romeo Doubs. That's right. You thought it was going Christian Watson, weren't you?
Either one is an eyebrow raiser to say one of the best in this class.
I dude. I love Romeo Doubs. But it was more of just like a joke.
Okay.
But I mean, they could. I mean, they could end up being some of the. I mean, they have the talent, like especially Christian Watson. Like Christian
They
Watson
have the opportunity too.
Yeah, and they have
They
opportunity.
definitely have that. Yeah.
So new wide receiver staff. I think they get healthy tight end. I know last year, their tight end room was a little banged up, so they should be better. Their offensive line, whenever Bakhtiari gets back, it should still be one of the best offensive lines in all of football. AJ Dillon took a big step last year. He's coming. Aaron Jones is still a stud. And really, I mean, like that defense is loaded. Like that defense is so good.
That's the thing.
Yeah, they probably have a really good shot to end up as a top 5 defense by the time the season ends. And the way I look at it is like, hey, look, we've got one of the better defenses in football on paper. If they put it together, that defense is just gonna be like fantastic. Yes, are we lacking weapons? Like, wide receiver weapons, maybe tight end weapons, sure. But we have a good running game. We have a good offensive line. We got number 12 back there. And I'll take my chances with that any day of the week. This seems to be like more of a little transition for them, though. I don't think they're going to be this team where Aaron Rodgers is going out throwing 45 touchdowns this year. I think they're going to want to pound you with Jones, pound you with AJ Dillon, hit you with Jones up the middle or out wide and, pass catching, possibly hit you deep on play action, and then just play really, really stout defense. And that wins football games. That absolutely wins football games. Like I said, you might not have the flashy Aaron Rodgers numbers you're used to, but I think personally, this team seems like it might be a better football team, like overall football team than it was last year. And they won 13 games last year. I think their defense can be better. I think their offensive line will be better because they'll have Jenkins back. Bakhtiari should be back. Some of the other, pieces along the O-line they were missing last year. I think AJ Dillon is poised to make a massive leap forward as a running back. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. So, I mean, you're looking at this could be the Kamara, Mark Ingram, New Orleans Saints type of backfield.
I agree with you 100% on that too.
So yeah, these guys, it's going to be fun. If you're a Green Bay fan, I know you're worried about Aaron Rodgers. I think you got at least 1 or 2 more years of just enjoy this while you can, because when it's over, it's over. And I can tell you as a Colts fan, once that quarterback's gone, I mean, it doesn't just happen to fall in your lap. Like, Jordan Love, he looked better. Like, I mean, maybe like the numbers on like the stat sheet might not look good, but he did look a lot better than he has the last couple of years in that preseason game. But I mean, yeah, just finding that type of quarterback, it's once you lose one, just enjoy it while you got it. So I think it's gonna be a fun year in Green Bay. What are your guys' take on the Green Bay Packers?
Well, they lost Devontae Adams, but Aaron Rodgers got a sweet cryptic tattoo in the offseason to make up for that loss.
Hey, he's dating a witch too.
Yeah,
you guys hear that?
He's probably like
that makes so much sense.
Aaron Rodgers is not likable whatsoever. He is not a likable.
I like him.
No,
I think
he is the epitome of like
hilarious. I think he's hilarious. I don't think anything he does seriously. I think it's to completely fuck with all of y'all. It's people that
got like a whole ass forearm tattoo to fuck with the internet.
If he did, then by God, give him the trophy and end the season now. Like if that's the case,
Jared got a forearm tattoo.
Nothing's wrong.
Yeah,
with
but I don't.
I'm just saying, like you're saying that his actions are just to fuck with the internet. Like,
I think he gets on like these podcasts and stuff, and he talks like.
I fully believe I fully believe he believes what he's saying. Like the dude's taking hallucinogens. You think he's taking hallucinogens to troll the internet?
I think he's a troll. I think he's a troll.
I think he's got you right where he wants you.
I think he's a troll.
Well, I do think he's the NFC North.
I mean, I'm not saying like the dude marches to the beat of his own drum. I mean, I'm not saying he's like a normal person, but I don't think he's as whacked out as like what he's letting on.
I don't know. They burned me last year. They were my Super Bowl pick, and they can have a North. That's fine.
My Super Bowl pick didn't even make. Well, one of them actually won the Super Bowl, but the other one didn't even. But the other one didn't even make the damn championship game. So. Least Truth made the championship game.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
they didn't win one playoff game.
I was thinking of like the prior 2 years. They made it.
That unstoppable offense with the MVP couldn't
Jimmy Garoppolo?
No, not that one. You would think, but not that one.
There's not a whole lot to say. I mean, like. They got a great offensive line. They're
clearly in the.
They have. I think their defense is top 5 easily.
Well, I think their team like just overall. I think this is clearly like, to me, this is like a 3-team race in the NFC, and that's the Rams, the Buccaneers, and the Packers. And I think outside of those 3, you have a battle for like who's coming in the wild card and who's like coming in the 4th, but. I think those are clearly, to me, and I would take Green Bay over Tampa, honestly. I think Green Bay is going to be a better team than Tampa is. And people are going to come at me for that. I don't care. I think Green Bay is a better team this year. And that's not saying, like, that's the difference between, like, I think Green Bay is going to win 13 games and Tampa's going to win 11. Like, you're splitting hair. That's not me saying, like, Tampa's going to bottom out. So before y'all all get all in your feelings in the comment section,
oh, you think they're mad now? Just wait a few minutes.
Well, Tampa may only win 11 games and Green Bay wins 13, but Green Bay can't win a single one in the playoffs. It seems like even at home against a West Coast team in snow. So I don't know. Like this team is very frustrating to me. Like every year,
that's true.
They're extremely frustrating. If I was a Packers
Aaron Rodgers
fan,
is so good. Like, whenever you just watch him make throws on the field, it's like, yeah, okay, nobody else on the planet can make that throw. So it's like, I don't know. It's so they're like, such a frustrating team.
But that's where Jared, I think, is frustrated because you watch that in the regular season.
Yeah.
And then you see Aaron Rodgers perform in the postseason.
And they can't score a touchdown.
Yeah, and outside of this year, it's been completely.
He's had his years where other parts of the team have let him down.
Yeah, which I think up until this 1 year, like just this one last year, 1 year, where every other year his defense gives up an average of 41 point something points per playoff game. That's definitely Aaron Rodgers.
Playoff losses.
Yeah, that's totally.
No, it's not on. I'm saying the whole team is frustrating, like completely frustrating.
They always have such high expectations going into every year
because
they've got Aaron Rodgers.
That's what comes with it. Yeah, it reminds me of the territory. It reminds me of the Peyton Manning Colts. is who they remind me of. They
Yeah.
got the one.
That's
They
a
got the
very
one
good
Super
comparison.
Bowl. They got the one Super Bowl,
And every year they just lead
every
with one and
year,
more.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
I mean, at least we got to another Super Bowl. They still have to get at least to another Super Bowl, but yeah, I know all about it, but it's it is tough, and I know like I said, like I grew up a big Packers fan before, like I became a Colts fan back when I was like 8 or 9. Like I was a big Packers fan, and my mom's been a big Packers fan forever, as long as I've been alive, and I get to go through it every playoffs with her. Like I will watch the playoff game with her every single playoff game, and if you've never heard I've never heard a grown woman in her 50s cuss that much. Like
I couldn't imagine.
dude
Do you want to hear an interesting thing? I just heard
it's
this the other
funny
day.
actually. It's funny.
So you know who had the 20th highest selling jersey in the NFL last year?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. You know
Because
who
they already have his jersey.
You know who had the
That's
number
true.
one selling jersey while they
Probably Tom
played?
Brady.
While they were in the league, they had the number one selling jersey for 7 straight years. Take a guess who it was.
Brett
Tom
Favre.
Brady.
Brett Favre.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Packers fans love. Think about it. How the hell do you get to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers? Like
The same way you go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck.
you don't get a single Sam Bradford or Nick Foles or nothing in there in the middle. Like you
Hey,
just
Nick
get to go
Foles won a
straight.
Super Bowl, bro. Hey, let's chill out.
I'm still not okay about the fact that the Rams
Nick
the
Foles got
Rams
as many
actually.
Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre.
Think about how many quarterbacks went through Cleveland before Baker.
Now he's gone.
And he's gone. The Jets.
Hey, speaking of, he's gone.
The Bears, all these teams.
Yeah, the Bears haven't had a quarterback since Jim McMahon.
Yeah,
it's just like all these. So you look at all these teams that are just struggling to find a franchise quarterback, and the Packers just get to go straight from one Hall of Famer to another.
This alone shows you just how distorted Tom Brady and the Patriots made, like, what everybody thinks is success is because Brady, he got 6 titles with the Patriots and then went to Tampa Bay, won the others, so won his 7th. So Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and Indy won Super Bowl. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, 2 Super Bowls. So between 2 organizations having 3 damn sure, 4 sure Hall of Fame quarterbacks and 1 that would have been,
right,
you have 3 Super Bowls. Tom Brady had 7 by himself.
Tom Brady took pay cut after pay cut after pay cut after pay cut just to keep
that did help too.
And that's how he has 7 rings.
Well, that and the defense, like he had Bill Belichick coaching the defense.
That helped too.
Yeah, as Drew could attest to.
Aaron Rodgers has this defense.
Probably the worst Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life.
Unfortunately, like the 2 biggest defense wins championship Super Bowls were the 2 times the Rams and the Patriots met in the Super Bowl. As painful as that was to watch each time. Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, it's great. I mean, the Packers really are. They're a tough team to evaluate because it's like, how do you even though you have Aaron Rodgers, how do you not expect the team to take a step back whenever how do you not expect the offense to take a step back whenever you lose Devontae Adams? So whenever you you just watched the playoff game against the 49ers, Aaron Rodgers wasn't fucking with anybody on that offense if they weren't named Aaron Jones or Devontae Adams. You weren't even getting looked at. And that's a big thing with Rodgers is trusting his guys and things like that. And if you have Rodgers,
who's earning a lot of trust in camp?
Sammy Watkins,
Romeo Doubs.
And if he succeeds,
Sammy Watkins is going to be wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers.
Maybe for week 1.
That's true.
And then he'll do his normal. But that's the issue I have. It's they've got Alan Lazard, who's been there. It's
Amari
not like
Rodgers is going into year 2.
Yeah,
he's shown some stuff in camp.
I guess I don't know. I find it tough to get excited about any of these guys. Like Alan Lazard's already been there and hasn't really been able to make anything of it.
I think
Christian
Green Bay's the
Watson,
perfect example, though. Like, I think their wide receiver tight end room is like the perfect example of like the whole being better than like the sum of their parts. You know, like that saying where it's like individually they might not do anything, but I think like as a whole,
I think collectively they suck too.
no,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
but
a
I
good
think,
receiving
yeah, but I mean,
core.
like they'll have like Aaron Rodgers is too good not
Aaron Rodgers is
to
going to
do.
elevate. Aaron
That's what
Rodgers is
I'm
going to
saying.
elevate
Like,
somebody. I just don't know who it is.
It'll probably be Alan Lazard in all actuality because Rodgers ain't gonna
Yeah.
trust these rookies. I mean,
He
I don't
might. He
see
might.
that.
yeah, you
Alan,
say,
Alan
man, you
Lazard
say
might get.
that, but
Alan Lazard
they
might
might.
get fed with targets, but I just don't like. I don't know. He had every chance to be the number two option in that offense the last couple years and haven't been
Aaron
able to
Well,
do
it's
Jones
kind
was
of the
anything
number
with
same
it.
way
two.
now that everybody expects like MVS like to go to Kansas City and just start performing, and it's
No,
like,
that's the same issue I
yeah,
have with him.
that's
It's
what
like
I'm saying.
if
It's
you
like,
couldn't
man,
make
it's
it
like,
work with Rodgers, how the hell are you gonna make it work with Mahomes?
yeah, and like Kansas City has a hell of a lot more weapons to fire out to
Oh
than,
yeah,
than
Yeah.
Green Bay did. So
And it's like the list of wide receivers that have the same draft capital as Romeo Dubs that have put up, even if you just put like a 800-yard season, the list of receivers drafted the same area Dobbs was drafted that had that type of season is like this fucking long. And so like he looks good
I'm
in
not
camp
saying
and
he
he
doesn't have an uphill battle.
no,
Yeah,
I know you're not. I'm just trying to help paint the picture that it's like, yeah, I know he's looked good in
yeah.
camp,
I
but
don't
like
know.
the
Yeah,
regular
not
season's
for.
a whole nother thing, and Christian Watson has his own fundamental issues and drop issues, and
Well, he's just now getting back out there.
yeah,
So
there's a good.
that's part of the problem is he's just now getting back out
yeah.
there, and trust and familiarity is such a huge thing with Rodgers. It's like I don't like I'm so intrigued to see how the Packers offense works out because like I have faith in Rodgers. He's a stud. I love their running backs, but I don't know what to make of their pass catchers outside of Aaron Jones.
There's a good chance Aaron Jones is the leading receiver for the Green Bay Packers this year.
Yeah,
There's a very good chance of it.
I don't think that ends up happening just because I don't think that many targets gets funneled to the running back position. But like
Yeah,
right now he probably is their best pass
he's
catcher
probably
though.
the best
If you look
one.
at the
But
games without Devontae Adams, he led the team in targets.
yeah, but
Yeah.
over a full season, that's not sustainable.
Right. It's tough to do for like to think of 17 games for a running back to be targeted that much. It would be wild. But like there is the argument to be made that he is the best and most trusted pass catcher on that offense right now. But like somebody's going to emerge. Rodgers is going to elevate the guys around him. It's just I have no idea who it is, and I don't have a lot of faith in the options. But Rodgers is gonna use one of these guys to make me look dumb. I just good luck picking which one.
I think Landon said it earlier. I think they're gonna kind of like Kansas City. I do think Kansas City's gonna rely on the run a lot more this year too.
Nah, I don't know.
I think it's gonna have to open up the passing game.
No,
man.
it ain't gonna have to either. They're
We'll
Andy
see.
Reid, like their weapons. Like, yeah, they lost Tyreek Hill, but man, they brought in some ballers. Like Juju is so underrated, man.
I like Juju and Sky Moore.
Sky Moore is good. Travis
I like
Kelce's still
both of
there.
those. I like Juju and Sky Moore more than
Yeah.
any pass catcher on this Green Bay offense.
Yeah, I agree.
That's where I struggle. It's like I don't doubt Rodgers. I know he's great.
Well,
But-
if they have a top 5 defense, they're gonna. I mean, they don't really have to have like.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're gonna want to
run the
like.
ball.
Yeah, I mean, like you still have 12 back there, but I think they're gonna want to grind games more
Yeah.
than. They're gonna
I
look a
agree with
lot
you guys.
more like the 49ers.
I
beat
think
them
that's
last year.
I agree with you guys. I think that's their formula to success this year, which
Yeah.
is going to be weird whenever you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Like to say, like we've got one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but we're going to ground and pound it and let our defense win games. Like that's
Well, Peyton
But-
Manning
but
got
hey-
a Super Bowl. Tom Brady got a Super Bowl.
they
won a lot
did.
That's won a lot of really good signal callers, a lot of rings.
That's
that
very true. But
Matt Ryan gonna get a Super Bowl like that?
do you, do you have faith in the Packers coaching staff to be able to elevate the team to the
Yeah.
level that the Broncos
I do.
and
That
the
John Fox did
Patriots
to elevate them to the level that John.
well, I mean that coaching staff and that defense did something because Peyton
Hey.
sure as hell didn't. So like
Well, he
you
didn't
that
play well.
defense-
No,
that
not in the regular
defense won the
season.
Super
He,
Bowl.
he did play damn good in the playoffs
I,
for once.
Who?
Manning in that Super Bowl run, the last Super Bowl run, he played well in the playoffs. He didn't play well in the regular season.
He had one of the worst Super Bowl performances in the history of the NFL, man.
Not the year he won.
With
Denver
against Carolina,
he threw 11 passes.
All right, hold on.
yeah, that was a defense wins championships poster child for a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, no, Von Miller like destroyed.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, that's one of the worst performances I've ever seen in football in the Super Bowl. And I think he threw a pick, and he only threw like 11 or 12 passes in the entire game. They ran the ball in the entire game.
But yeah, I do think that's
He was 13 of 23 for 141.
And a
that's
pick.
not a good performance.
13. I said 11. I apologize. 13. 13 pass attempts.
13
No,
completions.
23,
Yeah.
13 completions.
13.
But
okay.
It's not a good.
But no, but I'm saying like up until
Which
that
is
point in the
still-
play, like he played well like in the playoffs. And even that game he actually like he did the Peyton Man. He got them into the right.
If
often
Tom Brady puts up that same stat line, you're preaching defense wins championships. You're not defending.
I'm not
Tom
saying the
Brady's stat
defense
line.
didn't win him that title.
I'm saying you spend
They
0
did.
seconds.
They did. That's not a debate.
You would spend 0 seconds trying to defend that stat line if it was Tom Brady. That's my point. You would spend zero. You would spend none
I
of
would
your
be
time
the only
trying to
one
defend
defending that stat. Like because if Tom Brady did that, everybody else would be using the argument I'm making on myself. You would have the entire world telling me how great Tom Brady is if Tom Brady had that stat line.
And you would be telling them that it was the defense and Tom Brady had nothing to do with it.
Yes,
like you
absolutely.
told like you told which is the opposite of what you're doing with Peyton Manning right now.
Did I say the defense didn't win him that title?
You said that he had a great playoff run.
Yeah, up until that, he played well in the playoffs.
You didn't say up until that.
And
then even after looking at his stat line, you were still trying to defend it. Which you would never waste a second doing with Peyton, with Brady.
Look, regardless, this is going to end up being a very long tangent if we continue this. So let's get into now our last few points of the episode, and that is how this division ends in 2022. How do we see this playing out? I'm going to go ahead and start it because I'm curious to get your guys. I want to start off hot.
Let's do it.
Let's start off hot. And look, I learned my lesson last year to never count out any team. Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not saying the team's going to make the Super Bowl or even win the division, but
they taught us
coming in dead last. Got Chicago Bears. I don't think that's any really big surprise there. I don't think the Bears. Coming in third place, I have the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, we're getting hot now.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna get too hot. I'm gonna quell the fire. Because coming in second, I do have the Detroit Lions in second place. I don't have them winning the division, but I think this team is either 500 or above, like barely above. I can see this team being a 7 to 9 win team, and I think that might be enough. Maybe only about one game or half a game to get over the Vikings. But I don't know, man. There's just something about this Detroit team, and this was even before Hard, because I mean it's only been one episode of Hard Knocks. Like, yeah, I mean, like there's not really.
It can't be.
Yeah, much. I mean, like it's not like there's anything much that's really been shown. It was more about last year. Every time I turned on the Lions, which surprisingly was more than I thought I would. I really liked like how hard this team fought and how hard they played, and I think their defense is better. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to have a Nick Bosa like season, like at that position. Like he looks so damn good. I think Jared Goff is a good enough game manager to win games with. Obviously, like
he's already done it once.
Yep. I mean he's got them, and he's been to a Super Bowl for a reason. Like not because of him, but I think he's good enough to keep you afloat. And I think that offensive line, the pass catchers there, the running game, like they have almost like outside of maybe the linebackers and maybe their corners, like they have the total package. And like to me, like it's hard for me to say it because the Vikings have the same weaknesses or they have the same strength, but like they don't have. I don't even know how. It's late. Like I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Regardless, look,
Let's
I've
go.
got the Lions
We can do
finishing
it.
in second. I've got the Green Bay Packers winning the division, maybe for the last time. We'll see what happens. Depending on with Aaron Rodgers last year, but this might be the last time the Packers win the division in the Aaron Rodgers era. Be pretty cool offseason story. If he comes back next year, probably gonna pick them to win again. So we'll see what happens.
That's fair.
We'll see what happens. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts as well on how this division plays out.
Go ahead,
Drew, you
Jared.
want to go or me?
You go ahead, man.
Well, the Bears in last, followed by the Lions, who I do feel like is much improved. Vikings and Green Bay Packers. Make it short and sweet. I don't need reasons behind it. I think it pretty much is copy and paste. You just had to cut one team and move them to the end. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I've got the bottom of mine looks similar. I've got the Bears coming in last. I've got the Lions coming in third. I mean, I've got the Packers coming in second.
Oh my Lord!
Minnesota Vikings winning the division.
Woo! What?
Okay.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Two big hot takes is what happened.
This is the first division really where
another Rams offensive coordinator became a head coach. That's what happened.
I've got this is really like the first division I've really like gone out on a limb or gone out of my comfort zone or anything like that, really, where with what since the off season's played out, it's the first one where I'm really like, yeah, I think this team might take a leap. And it really all it does. The coaching staff plays a big part of it, but then I'm a huge Zadarius Smith guy, and if him and Daniel Hunter can stay healthy for the entire year, I think they have an opportunity to be possibly the best pass rushing tandem in the league, which is full of very talented pass rushing tandems. I said possibility. I don't they wouldn't be my betting favorite or anything like that, but if they stay healthy, they're both very, very, very talented. And I think the pace of play and everything that goes along with this team, and then their favorable schedule, I like them to make a run. Again, I'm putting my faith in Kirk Cousins here, so it could easily blow up in my face. But I do. I like
Vikings fan. I got one question for you. You like that?
I think Vikings fans do.
Big Mill. Where's Millhouse at?
He's a big Vikings fan.
Jared's dog is a Vikings fan.
He loves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he loves the Vikings.
When they score in the horn, they do the like he starts barking really, like he goes crazy.
Oh yeah.
He loves the horn. So yeah, man, that's a take right there. So I love it. Well, this episode had a little bit of something for all three teams. I'm saying three because not the Bears.
Yeah. Bears fans have been gone. They left a long time ago.
Wow. Well, that's unfortunately the way of the world. But we're pretty excited. I think, especially now, we have a little bit of differences in this division. I'm curious to see how this ends up, so we can see is Landon an idiot? Is Drew an idiot? Is Jared?
Drew will likely be an idiot, but it's
all right. Yeah, I was gonna say there's a good chance. There's a good chance we're all three idiots by the end of the season because that's generally how this works.
Yeah, if the NFL has ever taught us anything, is that none of us really know shit. And so, but
I promise you, I don't. So
there's only been a couple of divisions we've had even like small differences on. So
it seems like everything's really been like pretty straightforward. Which I think that's what's crazy though. Is I think that has a lot to do with the fact that all the talent is basically like loaded into like one or two divisions in the NFL. And then every other division is just like, it's very clear. Like the teams are like very clearly in different directions. So like you've got the AFC North, you have the AFC West, and then I mean, possibly the NFC East. Like, I mean, if you're a Cowboys believer, like I'm not, to me, like it's clearly Philadelphia in that division. But
yeah, I mean, I think we all picked Philadelphia, but still that division's up for debate.
It is.
Like the AFC East feels pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
like the Bills being
AFC
best division
South, I
there.
think we were all
We were all in
together
agreement on
on.
that one.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it seems like outside of like really just maybe 2 to 3 divisions, like, and it's basically because like most of the big names or players that signed or traded all went to the same damn place. So it's like they're all like concentrated just in a very small margin of teams. So it does seem like a little wild year the NFL's coming up, and we're really excited to bring you our playoff preview now. We're going to be giving you our picks of what teams are making the playoffs, what teams are going to win. Obviously, who we have winning the divisions.
And Packers fans, before you before you start burning pictures of me or some shit, like I do have the Packers making the playoffs still. Just they're not the division winners this year. But hey, maybe that'll work out better for you since winning the division last year didn't work out so good.
Or like the previous 10 years.
Their Super Bowl run, they were a wild card team.
Yeah, see, I'm just manifesting a Packers Super Bowl. That's all I'm doing. So Packers fans, you're welcome.
I'm manifesting the Lions having success.
Super Bowl run.
I would love to
not get ahead of ourselves. I would love it.
It would be cool to see them going on any type of run. Anything would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So if you didn't know, like I said, later on this week we will have our big NFL preview, previewing the playoff teams, how we think they're going to perform in the playoffs, all the way up to the Super Bowl, giving you our Super Bowl winners. Then we also have MVPs, Defensive Player of the Years, Rookie of the Years, all the awards that we're going to be dropping as well in that same episode. So it's going to be a really fun episode. Gives you a little peek. And like me and Andrew, like last year, I don't think Jared did the show with us, but we were both like, I mean, Jared did do it with us last year.
Yeah, I picked the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I mean, we at least called. Drew had the winner. I at least had a team in the Super Bowl. Obviously nobody saw the Bengals coming, but I mean, for the most part, 2 out of 3, yeah, 2 out of 3 ain't bad,
Oh,
So,
and like you hit 7 out of 8 divisional winners last year. I remember looking back at it, and then you had one more wild card team than I did. I had 7 out of 8 division winners as well. I think so. Like, in terms of like predicting the playoff teams themselves, we did pretty well last year too. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates this year.
And look, you got the main one right for sure. So that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Got the Super Bowl winner. It was a layup for me, but like I had bias working on my side on that one, but
well, I can tell you, I'm probably not going to pick the Colts to win the Super Bowl like on the show, but if you come in my house, we're going to win the Super Bowl every Sunday. We're going to the Super Bowl, but objectively, I can't do it. But I can understand why you would think that. Yeah. Anything else? Like I said, if you are joining us, if you joined for the episode, thank you guys so much for listening. Go ahead, subscribe on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter at 3 Man Rush Podcast, and if you're listening to audio, we want to thank you as well. So get prepared for the episode. We'll be dropping the NFL big season preview at the end of the week. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you then.